Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Some Dungeon Guy. Today I'm going over a quick guide on how to make swamps in Inkarnate. This video assumes you have a little bit of knowledge of Inkarnate. If you don't, I suggest going to my page and checking out some of my other tutorials where you can learn how to use Inkarnate, as well as some of the subtle nuances that makes a great map. If you like what you're watching, don't forget to hit like. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to hit subscribe. And as always, leave some comments if you have future map making ideas and or questions. So let's get to it. Alrighty, folks, as promised in the headline there, today I'm going to give you a little walkthrough on how to make a basic swamp. Then we're going to plus it up a little bit to add some depth to that terrain. Now, there's a lot of different options. Today I'm going to be using Fantasy World, which is a relative newcomer in the Inkarnate world as designated by the new tag. If you've been around Inkarnate for a long time, it's going to seem new. If you're just now getting into Inkarnate, you probably don't know the difference. It's what you've always had. And a lot of these translate into many of the other worlds, right? Or the other map styles. We're going to choose that. And today we're just going to choose a square because we're going to be making a random world. All right. Now I might use this world to kind of give you some pointers on different types of terrain and how to create a more realistic map flavor. So we're going to take in our masking tool. We're just going to make ourselves an island. Doesn't have to be anything specific, right? But I'm going to give myself a little bit of a spot to make a swamp. Now, maybe you know what you're looking for. Maybe you don't. If you have a shape of your world, you can just kind of insert this swamp any which way. Right, so just down in here, make this little corner, right? Our Tidewaters basin. One of the things I like swamps to be based on is a river or a stream of some sort. So we're going to shrink that down. Just make a little river. It'll go all the way across the island here. I'm going to widen it out so it has a little bit of surface area. Still on that mask tool, we're in the subtract mode. Now we're going to take it and we're just going to add some splotches of water on the inside, okay? Because as we know, swamps are a lot of water, a little bit of land, but a lot of water, okay? Now, when you're doing that, you can shape the land. If you decide you don't like something, you can add it back. Right, we're going to make a couple paths through here, just like so. Doesn't have to be anything overly specific because we're actually going to end up covering a lot of this with terrain or other icons, okay? So just like that. Maybe I want to add some of those back in. So just like so. All right. Next, just the basic terrain. We're going to add in some trees. All right. There is an option for trees under swamp trees here on the Fantasy World icon pack. If you don't find what you like in this pack, by the way, if you just a little hot tip, if you click on Inkarnate on the top left-hand side, it will pull up all of the icon packs. Now, the next thing I like to place my trees by hand. Now, a lot of people will go up here and add an area of effect. You know, let's say we make a big area. We just add a whole bunch of trees in. Yeah, that's nice. But I want the coverage to be kind of spotty, but also follow the lines of the dirt. Now, click some of those in. Yep, a little tedious sometimes. But as you can see by the end of this video, it just takes a couple minutes to add a swamp. Now, some of these trees are going to be in the water, right? Because they're going to grow out through that murky water. You're thinking, man, murky water. Well, don't get ahead of yourself. Added a few too many trees. We're going to Control Z, edit those back out. All right. And the one thing I like to do to kind of prepare myself for whatever may come is I'm going to take a few of these swamp type trees. I'm going to scatter them at the edge, all right? We have a little bit of a border so that if we transition into a different type of forest, we can mix in some trees, which I'm going to do here in just a moment. All right, inside of this swamp, we've got all the basics, right? Maybe we'll add a couple trees just to cover. But we've got some water, we've got a little bit of land, and we've got some swamp-style trees. Now, one other thing I like to do is maybe a point of interest, okay? If you're not sure what kind of point of interest you want, you know what? Sometimes you can just take a peruse through the icon pack and find all kinds of good stuff in here. Today, let's try Ruin. All right. This Ruin pack has all kinds of different ruins in it, but the main one will do just fine. Shrink it down a little bit, make it fit just inside of my swamp. Maybe I set it there, and I'm like, well, not quite enough land underneath it, so let's add a little bit. Just that simple. And it's like, okay, well, there you go. That's a swamp, right? Not so much. We're going to open this catalog up, choose all of Inkarnate, because I know that these vines are not in the Fantasy World pack. Yep, kind of huge, right? Hold Shift, scroll down, you get it close, and then you use your S and W keys to make them smaller or larger. All right, so we're just going to click some vines every which way. All right, it's going to give you that feeling of just tenderly sort of depth. And again, I choose to do them by hand. You certainly don't have to. You can do the area of effect. This kind of gives me extra coverage because with the area here, right, it will not overlap necessarily. Right? Sometimes you just want like 2 or 3 of them in a really small spot. Maybe this is like a specifically thick area, right? And it'll just it'll space them out, right? So just like that. Now we have a little bit more of a sort of claustrophobic sort of feeling, right? You don't like to have any vines? Don't add any vines. You want more vines? Make bigger ones, smaller ones. Again, the world is up to you, all right? Now we've got kind of the basic outline. It looks a little gloomier, right? Then I like to go in and change the color of my actual terrain. Now, I'm going to choose the foreground, which is going to get us the grassy part, the actual dirt parts, and choose this nice dark earth. You can open the catalog, choose whatever color suits your fancy. We're going to keep the opacity at about 100 from now. Just kind of do this little number. We're going to trace the actual main part of the swamp, all right? Now, I'm going to lower the opacity. We're going to take that down to like 50%. Right, get at the very edge, all right? Just like that. That's going to kind of outline the terrain transitioning into another area. Take that opacity down to like 30. We're going to make another little loop around it just to kind of darken the very, very perimeter, right? And then a couple little spots that might be a little darker. Tap it a couple times. Every time you tap it, it's going to add that 30% opacity. So once you click it a few times, it's going to all the way up to your 30%. All right, now we're looking a little gloomier, right? Well, we didn't do anything to the water. So we're going to choose Fantasy World, right, which is the icon pack we're in. We're going to choose a little darker blue color and the background. All right, now this is going to just get the water that's inside the swamp. Now it's going to get some of the water in the swamp. It's not going to get all due to the contours of the coastlines that Inkarnate makes. Now you can change those. If we wanted to change those down so that it allowed me to color the water a little harder, we could do that. But I'm also going to dip into the area and just kind of trace the coastline, right? Get a little bit darker like that. Drop that opacity down to like 60%, 65 here. A little darkness. Or drop it all the way down to 30. Do like a little ring of darkness. Now, as you can see, that kind of helps it fade into the rest of the water. All right. So again, if we stopped here, we would have a pretty decent looking swamp, I think. But we're still going to go a couple more notches. We're going to open up the catalog. We're going to look for cloud. We can put clouds anywhere. However, today we've got them for our swamp. We're going to lower that opacity down around the 50% mark. Don't like them quite that dark, you can change that. And we're going to go down to advanced placement and choose multiple. We kind of click and it won't highlight each one. We're just going to give ourselves a little dusting of clouds. Now, this cloud's really just going to form like a mist. A little bit of darkness and mystery around those ruins, for example. Now, if you don't like how bright those are in the swamp, you can certainly change that with your opacity. If we take that down, light haze around the outside, which is what I'm doing to have them kind of taper outside the world here, like so. Maybe you have a couple floating on the water. Makes the coastline look a little gloomy. Maybe ships won't want to pass it. Change that opacity real dark if you want to. Also, if your clouds start winding their way above the trees or the ruins or anything, you don't want them there. Don't forget you can change your layer on their left-hand side. Up in number, we'll put them on the top of the map. So if I change that up to like, let's say a layer 2, then all of a sudden it covers the actual trees, which I don't want to do. I like them sort of wound in between the trees like so. And then bam, just like that, we have ourselves a pretty gloomy swamp. As I mentioned before, one thing I like to do, however, is transition my swamps into other types of terrain. So let's say we were just going to lead those into a regular forest. Again, we're going to choose a tree. Choose a tree of your liking, whatever you're going to use for your forest. Zoom in a little so we can see them. Raise the size of our tree. Better size. Let's start there. We're going to choose the kind of intersperse them into the edges of these swampy trees. Then if our forest kind of goes out this way, then we can make our jagged little forest. And that way it sort of transitions the trees. Like there's not like a stark cutoff, unless you want there to be, which there certainly can be. But if you're looking for more of a natural sort of look, just like that. And maybe these kind of taper off into this section. Just like that. Just a few minutes, you two can have yourself a fairly detailed, authentic looking swamp in Inkarnate. Alrighty, folks, thanks for watching the video today. If you like this video, go ahead and hit like. If you like this kind of content, go ahead and hit subscribe. And if you have any feedback, comments, or just weird things you want to say, ideas for other videos or anything else, go ahead and leave one in the comments. And I appreciate you guys watching. And as always, thanks and have a good day.